Stand by.
We're going live.
Worldwide. This is the Jamie Havican Show with your host, Jamie Havican.
Hello guys, and welcome to the first Jamie Havican show of 2014 and the first Jamie Havican show on the official brand new JamieHavicanBroadcasting.net. The new website is finished enough to where it's usable. Everything is done. Now all I need is to do some fine tuning, stuff like that. Check out the website, JamieHavicanBroadcasting.net, or JamieHavican.com will get you there. In case you don't know how to spell it, it is Jamie, last name, Havican. And that V is as in Victor. So JamieHavican.com or broadcasting.net. Broadcasting.net is the platform it is built on. So, tonight we have an amazing show for you. We are going to cover just a very few news stories because I have a feeling the interview with Gerard is going to go good, and so I want to give it time because the book that we are going to be talking about, Here to Help, UFOs and Our Space Brothers, I've read about half of it, and I, seriously, besides a couple of other books like Leslie Kane's book and some of the other big books that have been released, cannot recommend this book more. I mean, I read Gerard's first book. I interviewed him on that, which was George Adamski, Herald for the Space Brothers. That book was really good, but this book is just really in-depth and so detailed and covers so many aspects. And you can buy it on Amazon, your Barnes & Noble, anywhere like that. Alright, so let me talk about, I was thinking about this. Should I read Gerard's bio before the news or after the news? I will read it right before we go to break. That way it's fresh in your mind when we come back. So what we'll do now is I just want to update you real quick with a couple of things, and then we will read our few news stories and get on with the interview. Well, 2013 ended bad for me. The whole year was just terrible. I wish I could just take that year and act like it just turned 2013, know what I know happened in 2013, and, oh man, just make different decisions. It's so weird. Trying to do good things and connecting people can turn into bad things for yourself. But also, yes, I did make a mistake. I was late for work, Basically, that's what happened once in 6 years. There's been one other show that I was not able to make, and that was because I was stuck in traffic on my way home. Besides that, I have never not been there for a show. Look, from now on, it's me. That's it. It's me. That's all it's here. That's all it's calling the shots. That's all it's doing everything. That's all it's owning everything. I cannot. You think you can trust somebody, you think you know somebody. You really do. And then you just get slapped upside the face and woken up really quick. And so this is what I've done. I have deleted that site, built the whole new site, which you see now, which is, nothing amazing, but it's going to work for a start. And I did it 100% myself. And I went out and I bought all new studio. Everything in my studio is brand new except the main production PC and one of the monitors. Bought a new mixer, console, nice one too. I bought a new microphone, nice one. I bought an EQ rack, a 30-band EQ rack, a second monitor, a second computer, which is a laptop. So the laptop runs its screen as well as another screen, and that system there runs my broadcaster. I have half of the broadcaster on one, half on the other, and it routes to a mixer, and then that mixer routes to my main mixer, after it goes through the processes. Also, I have 3 mics now, and I have a vocal compressor on its way that matches up with the EQ rack, and what that does is it delivers a steady level of dB's sound out to you. So when I'm done with this show and I look at my waveform, it's all going to be the same. No matter if I lower my tone, get excited, and start talking a bit louder, or I back away from the mic a bit. What the compressor does is it keeps a steady volume going, and it also makes you sound better. So does the EQ. Now look, I have not finally tuned anything, so I gotta give big props to my buddy Dave Universe, who has been helping me configure all this stuff. Quite a setup. In this big board that I bought, I did not think it was going to work out because it is just so intricate. And the first time I had it hooked up, it sounded damn good, but it's not the right way to go about things. So I went through the right way, the main outs, and something's weird running it that way. So finally, I went the real way and went out and dropped money on all gold tip wires and dual audio interfaces, so that I'm coming out with audio interfaces, and I'm going in with audio interfaces, and everything's good. And right now, we're only going to continue to sound better and better. And you're listening to me on a 48K stream, by the way. 48K, which is low. I did have the 192, but I just dropped it because it doesn't work in the nice player we have. And there's no sense in having 3 streams. So right now I have 2, and it sounds good, so I'm happy with that. Alright, let's get into our news so that we can move on and get to our interview. Alright, I told Noe that I would promote this for him. And man, Noe and Ruben. Now these guys here are really what you want to look to when you're talking about entrepreneurs, researchers, and just all-out devotees to ufology. They just finished the Border Zone Conference. Now another one. Alright, UFO Festival in Del Rio, Texas celebrates the city's paranormal past. January 8th This is when this press release was released. Del Rio, Texas. Del Rio, known as the Area 51 of Texas and the site of an alleged UFO crash in the 1950s, is hosting the first ever UFO festival in recognition of the unexplained incidents that have occurred there. Stanton Friedman, internationally recognized UFO expert, and Travis Walton, whose UFO encounter inspired the Paramount movie Fire in the Sky, are featured speakers at the Del Rio UFO Festival, which is to be held January 24th and 25th of 2014 at several locations, including the Paul Pog Theater on 746 South Main Street, sponsored by the Del Rio Convention and Visitors Bureau. The festival includes lectures, a parade, live music, food booths, an alien costume contest, a Build a UFO contest, a ghost hunt, and other events. Admissions are $20 per person. Non-lecture events are free. For more information, visit delrioufo.com. That is DELRIO UFO.com. Or for tickets, you can call 830-775-3551. Now, beginning in the mid-50s, Del Rio's home to the Laughlin Air Force Base, it became associated with the mysterious Area 51 in Nevada, where the top-secret military aircrafts were developed. In 1957, Laughlin Air Force Base became headquarters for Americans' highly classified U-2, also known as the Dragon Lady spy plane, developed by Lockheed Skunk Works at Area 51. U-2 planes from the Del Rio are credited with obtaining the first photos of the Soviet missile buildup in Cuba, which led to the Cuban Missile Crisis. And let's see, it also says that Del Rio is also sometimes referred to as the Texas Roswell because of the reported crash of a UFO just north of town in the 1950s. Retired Air Force reservist Robert B. Willingham, 87, says he visited the site of a crashed flying saucer and seen entities through a hole in the ruptured hull of the unearthly ship. The strange beings, two of which were badly mangled, appeared to have died in a crash. It didn't look like humans to me, Willingham said during a 2010 interview on the nationwide Jeff Rense program. The retired aviator said the beings had large heads, slits for mouths, and arms like broomsticks. Alright, and besides this, it says the Del Rio UFO Festival features 2 lectures by Stanton Friedman, a nuclear physicist currently residing in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. Friedman is perhaps the world's leading advocate of the theory that Earth has been visited by extraterrestrials. Also, Travis Walton's UFO encounter is one of the world's best documented alien abduction stories, and the festival also features, which, I have to guess, this is not a fact, I have to guess that Noe and Rubin are the people who have organized this. Let's see. The festival also features lectures by authors Noe Torres and Ruben Urete. Now these two are just amazing in what they do. Whose 2008 book, The Other Roswell, UFO Crash on the Texas-Mexico border, first disclosed the story of Colonel Robert Willingham's reported encounter with a UFO crash near Del Rio in 1955. A native of South Texas, Torres has maintained a lifelong interest in UFOs and was inspired in part by a strange encounter his mother had in the 1940s. He has appeared on the History Channel's UFO Hunters television series and has spoken on many numerous talk radio shows like Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, the Jeff Rentz program, Jerry Pippin's UFO Files, and Inception Radio with Jamie Havican, and many other radio programs. And Rubin graduated from Cal State University at Hayward with a BA degree in Psychology and Latin American Studies. He has taken MA courses in Public Administration, and he has been a member of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, as a field investigator and State Director for Northern California, Deputy Director for Investigations and International Affairs. Rubin has been interviewed on many local and national radio shows and television documentaries on the subjects of UFO phenomenon. It'd be nice to have a list of the speakers. This says here that also Carlos Guzman will be speaking, who is... he's been involved in UFO research since the 70s, and he's a leading UFO investigator in Mexico City. Also, UFO researcher Stephen Andrusco will speak about the Pascagoula UFO incident. Now, if you have not heard about that one, which many people haven't, or have not, you really have to. Now, for a complete schedule of the lectures, go to delrioufo.com, or you can check it all out right on Noe and Rubin's website, roswellbooks.com. Now, I can't recommend a site. I mean, they got a lot of stuff there. So go to roswellbooks.com/Del Rio, and you will find everything you need to know. You can contact Donna Langford. That's Donna Langford at 830-775-3551, or you can email her at donna@drchamber.com. So Del Rio Chamber, drchamber.com. Donna@drchamber.com. All right, that'll do it for the news. Just want to give a quick plug to my buddy Matteo Ainio. His book, Messages from Mars, can be purchased on Lulu. Matteo is an Italian researcher, and after careful and diligent studies about the subject and searching step by step the surface of the red planet, he has identified elements common to civilization, like human faces, profiles, animal ruins, cities, and vegetation. He has showed me some incredible pictures. You can get the ebook for $6.87 and the hard copy for $16. Available at lulu.com. That's LULU. Go there, under bookstore, type in his name, which is spelled Matteo. Last name Ianneo. Matteo Ainio. Matteo Ianneo. The name of the book again, Messages from Mars. Get the book. All right, it's that time. We are going to take our break, and we will be right back with our guest of the night, Gerard Aartsen. But first, let me read his bio. By the way, his website is bgapublications.nl for Netherlands. Gerard has been a student of the Ageless Wisdom teachings for over 30 years. His research into the teachings of the Masters of Wisdoms resulted in a comprehensive catalog which he has published online, known as Our Elder Brother's Return, a history in books, 1875 through present. An author, long-standing co-worker of Share International, a worldwide network of groups affiliated with British esoteric Benjamin Creme, who is the main source of information about the return of the world teacher and the Masters of Wisdom now at the dawn of the new cosmic cycle. His articles about extraterrestrial presence on Earth have been published in Share International Magazine and other publications, and he is a regular guest on radio talk shows in the US, the UK, Australia, and the Netherlands. He also talks about the significance of the ET presence and its connection with the ageless wisdom teachings, and is lectured in America, Europe, and Asia. Gerard Aartsen has a master's in education degree from the Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands, where he has held a teaching position at the School of Education since 2001. He has been a member of the Exopolitics Institute Advisory Board for Research in Education since 2011. In addition to education and the Ageless Wisdom teachings, he also has a keen interest in Renaissance and modernist art. So, right after the break, I will interview Gerard Aartsen. We'll be right back. Hold tight, don't go anywhere. We have a very short break, and we will be right back here on The Jamie Havican Show at jamiehavican.com or jamiehavicanbroadcasting.net. Hey guys, Jamie Havican here, just to let you know that for 2014 we have gone all in. We installed a full new studio here, and we are building a whole new site, and it is exciting. We now sound better than we ever have, and the studio has more processing room and equipment to deal with any situation. We are currently looking for shows, ideas, and guests, and the website is undergoing a remake from the ground up, starting from nothing. So, 2014 is going to be the rebound year. I'm putting everything in it, and cross my fingers and knock on wood, this will be the year we get things back together. Let's put that behind us and move on, and remember, don't feed the trolls. Take care. Hey guys, Jamie Havican here. Remember, to stay up to date, you must register for the website. I wish that I could take those of you that were registered and just transfer that, but I can't. But I promise this site is going to be left up for a long time. So register now. There are a couple of ways you can do that. You can go to the website, jamiehavicanbroadcasting.net or jamiehavican.com will direct you there. And up at the top, you will see a registration page. You can do it that way, or you can look on the sidebar. And down on the sidebar below archives, I believe, you'll see login. You may see a register link, but click login, and then it will say login or create an account. Just create an account. All you need to create an account is an email and a username, and you're good. So sign up now. Go to jamiehavicanbroadcasting.net. That is JAMIEHAVICAN broadcasting.net, or jamiehavican.com will take you there too. So for Jamie Havican Broadcasting, who else would I be? I am Jamie Havican. Thank you. Hello guys, thanks for listening and spreading the word. Make sure that you like our Facebook page and our Twitter. You can do that by going to the bottom of the website. In the footer area on the left-hand side, you will see a social tab area where you can see our Facebook, our Twitter, our YouTube. Simply click on those buttons. Facebook, for example, will take you to our Facebook page. Like it. On Twitter, click the follow button and follow me. And if you want, YouTube as well. Also down there, we have an email Jamie button, email the network button, and a little button that sends you to my gaming podcast website, gt6podcast.us. So please like our social networking sites and help by spreading the word. Remember, you can always listen to the network on the go by downloading the Shoutcast app in any app store. Search Shoutcast. Then under stations, type in my name, Jamie Havican, and you will see the streams. Press play and you're in business. Thanks for listening. Thanks for helping. Thanks for spreading the word. I am back from the break, and today we have our guest, and he is no stranger to the show. If you're a long-time listener, we've had him on before on Inception Radio and on Pang Radio when I was co-hosting with MJ. Real quick, before we get into the interview, I just wanted to let you guys know that you can now listen to the stream and live shows via any telephone. All you need to do is call 832-999-1754. That's 832-999-1754. And that service is provided by audionow.com, and they've helped us out a lot in enabling us to have this amazing feature. So, you can now listen wherever you are. Gerard Aartsen, we're going to be talking about his book, Here to Help, UFOs and the Space Brothers, Messages from Space. Life is one, so life as one or perish. This is a book that I've been reading. I've gotten almost a little bit past halfway, and I got to say it's very fascinating, and I recommend it to anybody out there because it kind of, especially for somebody who's really just getting into this type of information, it really delves into almost everything from what I've read already. So I'd like to welcome you back to the show and thank you for taking your time to come on. And you are my first official guest for 2014.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It's great to be back, and thank you very much for having me again on your show. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, now, when did this book come out? When did you publish this book here?
The first edition came out just at the end of 2011, but then I soon discovered some slight mistakes, and I added a few bits. The mistakes were mainly in the references. As you've seen, I've referenced all my sources very carefully, and I've added one or two passages. So the second edition with the color photographs came out in, I believe, September 2012.
So it's really, it's new to me because the last book that I read from you, I believe, was George Adamski was a herald for the Space Brothers.
That's correct. Yeah, that was my first book actually, and this is the second book that I wrote.
And it's doing, I would assume it's doing quite well, huh? Or, are you self-publishing?
It's not doing badly, but it's not a bestseller because, funnily, the book, even though a couple of interviews with me about the book have been published around the internet, most major UFO publications have chosen to ignore it in terms of reviews. So. Yeah, I suppose it could do better, but I'm not unhappy, and especially through shows like yours, interviews that I get to do, people hear about it anyway.
Yeah, well, that's good. Now, where are you currently living?
Still in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, where I've always lived. Yes.
Yeah, I see. Americans over here, we kind of. It's hard for us to differentiate. I can tell that you're over in that area, but for some reason it's probably because I watched the documentary, which I have to recommend. It's on YouTube, and it's a documentary. It's basically a lecture that you did about this book, and basically about George Adamski. And I got to say, it's really fascinating. People need to watch that. But the book, I have to say, it's amazing. All the photos that are inside of it. And all the information and the different types of chapters, it's really well written, and I'll be giving it a review. Is it available on Amazon? Can people go there and look at it as they're listening?
Absolutely, yes. It's available on every single Amazon outlet in America, in the UK. A Dutch edition has been published, and that's available in Holland. But there's also a Japanese edition. People are working on a French edition, and Barnes and Noble sells it as well, the English edition. So it's readily available from any online retailer.
Nice. I got a friend who lives in the Netherlands, and he's into this a lot, so he'll definitely probably pick this up as soon as he hears this interview. So what made you, after you wrote the first book on George Adamski, and what made you want to write this book, and what is the difference? I know this book is more generalized and not just about George Adamski. It's about the whole field of ufology and trying to get the message across about, exactly what's going on, how it's been happening for a long time in the history. But is it your plan to keep writing books? Did you have this planned? When did you start working on it, and what was the idea behind it?
Your question sounds a bit as if this would be the definitive book about ufology, which I'm sure it isn't.
No,
the idea came to me, I think, after having published the book about Adamski. I realized, and I came in touch with, I came across much more information from other early contactees from the George Adamski era, so to speak, specifically from outside the US, that information that corroborated Adamski's claims. And I thought that was well worth another effort to show to the general public that there's much more to the message and the information coming from the early contactees in the 1950s than they have been given credit for. As you've seen in my first book, and again in this book, there's been a concerted effort on the part of the authorities to discount, to deride, to defame, to ridicule their message and their information, with great success, I should say, because until I would almost say, without hopefully not sounding arrogant or blasé, but I would almost say since the publication of my book about Adamski, the mood seems to be changing somewhat, and the early contactees are being taken more seriously now, apparently. But until that time, they were mostly forgotten about, and and I think that's most unfortunate, because I think that with all the dignitaries and the officials coming out now in recent years, say for the last 10, 15 years, that confirm the message from the early contactees, from the original contactees in the 1950s, their message is more relevant than ever, especially when we look at the world in the condition that it's in today.
Yeah. One thing that really surprised me when I read the first book is how George Adamski is not more well known in the community. You would think, I've interviewed about 500 different people within the fields of ufology, mostly in ufology, and to tell you the truth, besides yourself, his name, has rarely come up, and all the information, how important he is and his role in ufology and getting it started, being one of the first contactees, if not the first, it really, he needs to be out there, and I guess that's why you decided to, focus on him. What drew you to George Adamski? Was it something? Did you read his books growing up? Was it his story that caught you, and you thought it had to be out there? People had to know about this more?
Well, yes, indeed. I read his book at rather early on. I suppose I was in my early 20s. After, finally, I had first read the von Däniken books, Eric von Däniken, which opened me or introduced me to lots of unexplained mysteries around the world. And then I came across Adamski's books, but it was only about 30 years later, when I'd gone through a long and serious study of the ageless wisdom teaching, the teaching of the people like H.P. Blavatsky, Alice Ann Bailey, Benjamin Graham, that are really the esoteric counterpart of what most people are aware of through various religious traditions. So you could say the ageless wisdom teaching is the essence or the core of of the religious teachings. And then I found out that Adamski's first publication in 1936 was about the ageless wisdom teachings. It's called Wisdom of the Masters of the Far East, and it fits in squarely with those teachings that I just mentioned from Blavatsky and Bailey. And you see it reflected still in the teachings that Adamski received from whom he called a master from Venus in his book Inside the Spaceships. And inside the spaceships, he is told about how this planet and the way we have organized it socially is set for destruction if we are not careful through this period of transition. So for me it was fascinating in the first place, and then I came across, I was lucky to get access to some of his publications that were never reprinted, that were only sent out to subscribers, so to speak, in the 1950s, and have never been reprinted. And they added a lot of interesting detail to what is in his main books that are still readily available, from secondhand retailers. So that set me off to to study and write research about his work, which I published in my first book, and then that sort of brought me into the other contactees, specifically the contactees from the Italian friendship case, with the photographs in my second book from the books that were never translated into English, were only published in Italian in late 1950s, early 1960s by Alberto Perego, who was a notable consul, a diplomat in service of the Italian government. And he was instrumental in collecting, compiling all the information that was published about the flying saucer phenomenon in his days. And he had fascinating photographs from this friendship case that took place over a period of 20 or 30 or more years in Italy, between extraterrestrials who were based in underground bases around Italy, and over 120 ordinary Italians, well, some more ordinary than others. There were quite a few dignitaries like Alberto Perego who were involved. And those the information that has come out of that case through other books, and information from the South American friendship chapter and other things, everything. If you start looking at the big picture, which I hope I managed to sketch in this second book, it is just amazing how how Adamski and the other early contactees have been ignored, and how successful the authorities have been in denying the reality of their experiences.
I gotta say that, one of the closest things when reading this and going under some other information to some of the earlier stuff that happened was, a couple shows that Future Theater did on Gray Barker, and that was really, really fascinating stuff. And I know there's some ties in there with Adamski. I'm not sure if he. What was the connection between those two? Did they collaborate together, work together, research together?
They didn't really work together or collaborate, but I do know that Gray Barker was very much interested also in Adamski's experiences, and I suppose that's why he, after Adamski's passing in 1965, Gray Barker published his what he called Gray Barker's Book of Adamski, with a compilation of articles, a compilation of questions and answers, and a few other things. And the sad thing is that people like Gray Barker, and there's a few others, I forget his name now, who did collaborate with Barker, they took the phenomenon seriously, but at the same time they didn't mind pulling off pranks. So I forgot the name of this other guy who was involved in a famous case in which Adamski was pranked, was made to believe that he had been contacted by someone inside the U.S. government. And in fact, it was a hoax. It was later admitted that it was a hoax. Gray Barker, on the one hand, yes, he did some useful things, but at the same time, he also paid the field a disservice in being involved in pranks like this one. So that's too bad. And any time people trivialize the ET presence, I think they're not really doing the topic a good service.
No, I found a list of some early contactees, and of course Adamski is listed first. We have what's this, Truman Brethren? Is that right?
Truman Bethram, yeah. Yes.
Then we have George Van Tassel, Daniel Fry. What's this?
Yeah, Orfeo Angelucci.
Yes, George King, Buck Nelson, and then the Betty Hill. That's what they list here. Of course, they have Billy Myers, which is always controversial. And I gotta say, I'm looking at these pictures inside the spaceship, and it says here that Alberto described the inside. He says there's a kind of table in the center surmounted by a spear that pulsates light. It seems that the spear showed the position of a disk in relation to the planet, and that an enlarged view of the flyover area is shown on the table, and then a seat with a triangular backrest placed in front of it, a control panel to the right, and a kind of monitor next to another device. So it's really like he was looking at this technology back then, not knowing really what it was. And has anybody looked at these photos, examined them? What were they taken with? Polaroid, or
from what I've been able to establish, these photographs were not taken by Alberto Perego himself, but by some of his associates, some other Italians involved in the friendship case that started in 1956. By the way, the friendship case was first became known about on a larger scale in a book that was published in English in 2009 called Mass Contacts. It's written by another Italian, Stefano Breccia, and I believe it was Paula Harris who was instrumental in getting it translated into English. Mass Contacts, the first part is about the Umo case, the famous Umo case in Spain that Wendell Stevens also published about. And the second part of Mass Contact is about the friendship case. And I found, as I was researching for this book, Here to Help, I found other historical sources that were directly related to this friendship case without anybody knowing about it and about the historical scale of that case at the time. So in chapter 4 in my book, I've brought these different sources together. And what I've been able to establish is that these photographs of the interior of the flying saucer, but also of the extraterrestrial pilot that I've reproduced in my book, that they were taken probably by Bruno Ghibaudi. He was an Italian journalist. He was asked to make a documentary. He was an aviation and space a journalist who wrote about aviation and space technology and everything, the early 60s. And he was asked to do a TV documentary about flying saucers and people who claimed they had seen them. The documentary was cancelled at one point, but Ghibaudi was very much involved in the friendship case, and I believe that he and someone else were the people who were invited inside the flying saucer after it had landed, been made visible and landed. And they were allowed to take these photographs, and they shared these with Alberto Perego to publish in his books. And as I said before, Perego's books were never translated, so it was only through a documentary about the friendship case that I learned about the existence of these photographs. So I set out to find copies of these books, and I managed to acquire them, and so I could reproduce the photographs in this book.
Yeah, and I'm looking at them, and that chapter, by the way, is called From Space and Friendship, and you really have to read this book. And the reason why I was saying this book just has a lot of knowledge is because of all the references you give out, like Leslie Kane's book, and just everything that it's just so well put together as far as information about where you got the information and the sources that other people can check out. Now, I want to ask you, the book starts off basically with kind of like a history of cover-ups, and I wanted to ask you this. After the Roswell thing is when a lot of researchers believe the cover-up started, and they put together MJ12. And do you think that MJ12 was more of a worldwide research effort? Do you think it was more U.S. based, or do you think it was just a front?
I certainly don't think it was a front. I think, from what I understand, it's mostly U.S. based, but of course already in those days the U.S. government, especially the Secret Service, was well connected with the Secret Service of the other allied countries, the Western Bloc, the NATO bloc, which was in a major Cold War conflict with the Soviet bloc. And whatever they could use to get ahead of the Soviets, they would be interested in. So I do think that MJ12, I think it's been quite thoroughly documented by now through the efforts of Mr. Wood and someone else whose name I forget at the moment. There was they both appear in this interesting documentary, The Secret Evidence That We Are Not Alone. It's available on YouTube, and Stanton Friedman appears in that documentary as well. And Stanton Friedman has actually found documentary evidence to the reality of MJ12, Majestic 12, as a group of at first, government appointed officials to investigate the flying saucer phenomenon, but I believe it was later on, or in the course of the years, it took on a life of its own. It became more and more secretive, to the point where, at the moment, the U.S. government doesn't have access to that group or the information that it has gathered, and the most important and most regretful result of the cover-up that was started with the knowledge and the blessing of the American government is that the whole atmosphere and the whole perception of the extraterrestrial presence has become one of either fear or ridicule. The general public perception of the ET presence, and that is really unfortunate, because there's nothing to fear, as I think I make quite clear in my book through numerous sources.
Yeah.
So many sources that agree that the ET presence is beneficial, and they're only here to guide us. They're not here to take over. They're not here to rescue us, because we can only rescue ourselves. We have created the problems that we're in as the human race, as a planet, and we have to get ourselves out of it. But they are here with their knowledge, with their wisdom, with their technology, and they stand ready to help us if once we indicate that we are willing to accept their help.
Yeah, in your lecture, one of the earlier contactees said that they want us to look at them as our older brothers, and that's
Correct.
a good thing, not as their gods, which says a lot, because a lot of people believe the ancient alien theory, where human mistook extraterrestrials for gods, and it's good to hear something like that they're saying things like that, and that they're here to help us, because you always hear these stories. They're either they're here to help us, they're here for good, or you hear these other stories where they're abducting you, they're testing you, they're doing all this other crazy stuff to you. And that's one of the things. There's so much information out here, and there's so many trails to follow. You have to really figure out and decide for yourself which one you think is more plausible and more likely, which is a very hard thing to do.
That's true, and that's why I thought it was important to show that the stories of the beneficent contacts and ETs from the 1950s were not isolated or were not unique to a handful of people, mostly rather ordinary people from the United States, but they are shared across the world. And not only in the 1950s, but increasingly, if you hear people like Edgar Mitchell, Paul Hellyer, Kirsan Ilyumchinov, the president of FIDE, the World Chess Federation, a Bulgarian astronomer, Filipov, the Italian diplomat Alberto Perego, and many others, that they're here and they're waiting in the background while they're doing their things and helping us in unseen ways. They're here to try and help us not blow up the planet and make this transition into a fairer, juster world for everyone.
And this is a time that we need that to happen. This world, there's so much going on that it seems like it's escalating. I hope things calm down and we find a peaceful resolution to all the conflicts that are going on.
I think that's exactly what's going on, but I suppose it also needs to come a little bit more to a head, in the sense that more and more people are waking up to the reality that the divisions in the world are untenable. We cannot continue, or cannot expect to survive in this world where the disparity, the the gap between extreme wealth and extreme poverty is increasing every day, and this increase is supported by the way our systems are set up. More and more wealth is being extracted from the lower classes, from the poor people, from the middle classes, and it's just a handful of people who are getting richer and richer, and they get more and more money than they know what to do with. So the tensions inherent in that system are making this world a very dangerous place. We've seen in the last 15 years that when there is extreme poverty, people are open to radical ideas, to become terrorists, etc. So we're making the world, as we allow this system to continue and to exist, we're making the world more and more vulnerable to dangerous minds and dangerous so-called or imagined solutions of spreading terror. And the solution would be so simple. The solution, as we have been told through religions, through the wisdom teachings, through the extraterrestrials, the teachings that they have given through the contactees and other people, and more economists, people with no relation to what might be seen as fuzzy or vague characters or notions. The solution is so simple. Share what you have, make sure that there's justice and freedom for everyone, cooperate rather than compete, and you'll create a world where people trust each other, where the resources will be more than enough for everyone to live a decent life, and where there is justice, so that everyone will have future prospects.
Yeah, it's scary when you think about how kids are going to grow up today. My niece is 8 years old. She's been with me since she was a baby, and to think how the world's going to be when she is older is just insane to think about.
If we continue in our current ways, yes.
Hopefully things turn around. I want to ask you some questions that popped up from me and also from some listeners who know about the show and wanted to ask about this. Do you have any thoughts on this recent comet ISON? Did it represent anything to you other than just a passing comet?
For me, you see them. You see the announcements and the comments and people's fears and expectations and hopes passing around Facebook even more frequently than there are actual comets, it seems. For me, it doesn't hold any significance beyond the fact that it's a comet, and according to the information that I've studied and researched based on the Aces wisdom teaching, comets are a way of how to say that, they're like instruments in cosmos to spread certain types of energies that are used in the evolution of solar systems, planets, galaxies perhaps, and that's all I know about it. But I don't buy into the general fear-mongering notions of Nibiru and what have you. The people seem to be so bent on being frightened, and I think that started with the cover-up in the 1940s and 50s. For me, ISON is just a comet.
Do you think that this is just a quick one, but jumping back, do you think MJ12's original goal is to just explain away these sightings, get it out of the, because I'm sure the government was being, I know they were being asked left and right what's going on. Do you think MJ12's motive was to explain it away, get it out so we quit being hassled, or do you think it was started off as a true research into the subject?
I think if you look at the people that made up Majestic 12, it was an effort by the government to keep on top, to stay on top of things, trying to know as much, find out as much as they could about the flying saucers. Yeah, there were 6 civilians and 6 military, 2 from the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force each. And it seems that because I also quote in my book a document, the first annual report of the U.S. President's Special Panel on UFO Research from around 1948, and I think that was the precursor to MJ12. And yes, I think they were, on the one hand, they were supposed to find out as much as possible, and on the other hand, try to control the public perception of the flying saucer phenomenon, because it got so much attention in the media, of course. And if you look at some of the photographs, for instance, there's this photograph from a talk that George Adamski gave in Detroit in 1954, and you see a jam-packed hall of people intently listening to the good news, because again, this was in the midst of the Cold War, and people were meant to be afraid. They were instructed almost to be afraid of the Soviet threat, just as the people in Soviet Union and satellite states were supposed to be afraid of the American threat. So I think it was twofold: find out as much as they could and control the public perception.
Now, one thing that's fascinating, in that I'm not sure if you're the one who brought this to light or not, but it's the painting, or the cave painting that originated in India. You could probably pronounce some of these things a little bit better than me. So why don't you tell people about this? This was fascinating in the lecture I watched on YouTube. But you also have it in the book. It has the photo of it, and you also talk about it. So tell people about this painting, why it's so significant.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I didn't bring it to light. I learned about it through Share International magazine that I am affiliated with as well. It's Benjamin Graham, whose name I mentioned before, is the editor of Share International magazine, and it publishes very frequently, almost monthly, sightings of UFOs from around the world. And in this case, it reproduced a photograph that was first published in the Rajasthan Times from India in 2010. And the Rajasthan Times reported that intricate prehistoric cave paintings depicting extraterrestrials and UFOs were found in caves that were hidden deep in dense jungle in the Hoshangabad district of Madhya Pradesh, near the local administrative center. And Benjamin Graham, the editor of Shenzhen magazine, has said that the cave art was painted 40,000 years ago, and it shows a man from Mars in a saucer-type craft. And it's a fascinating painting, so I thought I had to have it in my book to show to readers that the ET presence has been with us since the beginning of time. And that's not a surprise, because we are interplanetary brothers and sisters, and life is universal. As I said on the cover of my book, life is one, so live as one. So if we don't learn to live as one planet, as one human race, we will destroy ourselves because of the tensions that our systems are creating.
Yeah, and it's a problem with our world, is that we don't see other countries and even other races as being the same as ourselves, which is a sad thing, because we are all identical, and it's really sad. In this painting, there is an object. We have the alien, we have the UFO, and then up top there's a object. Now, I did not see, I remember in the lecture you had your laser pointer out and you were kind of describing things. I was getting set up, but to me, looking at the top portion, the object that's carved there, that to me almost looks like a portal. And it's really, I just want to mention that the reason, I can understand why people would paint something like this, because you look at the cargo cults from World War II, I mean, you still had people worshipping airplanes, 10 years ago, if not still today.
Yes, it could be that, but I mean, the newspaper report or Share International magazine doesn't say anything about it, but it could also be one of those tube-shaped motherships.
Gotcha.
If you read in chapter 3 in my book the account from Kirsan Ilyumzhinov, the former president of the Republic of Kalmykia and the still president of the World Chess Federation, he says he was invited into a translucent tube-shaped object, and they are reported from around the world. So it could be one of those. But if this was 40,000 years ago, it could well be that that spaceships had not yet developed to the point where they are now. I don't know. I wasn't there. But it's interesting to speculate.
Yeah,
I agree.
It is. And that's one of the things that's one question I've always had is, since the airship mysteries, UFOs and witnesses always seem to depict what is futuristic at the time. We had the airships, which look like blimps with all these crazy mechanical devices on them. Then you had the hubcap style UFOs, and nowadays it's more the triangular futuristic ones. What got me into this is, as a skeptic, I believed in it, but I seen a translucent object which was shaped as a saucer, but it had liquid inside of it, and it was kind of moving around, and it just blinked out in front of me, and it was pretty close, like 3,000 feet above me, about 45 feet I would estimate. And until someone sees something like that, it really woke me up, I'll tell you that. But I guess that painting can be taken in a lot of ways, but everybody has to check that out, and definitely check the book out. Now let me go on to some more questions here. I got one. I read that Mrs. Adamski was reincarnated. Can you talk about that? At least there's something. Now this here was posted on Wikipedia, and I know Wikipedia has a bad reputation for having stuff that's not 100% facts. But on there it said it mentioned that there was a place where she had been reincarnated. Wanted to know if you knew anything about that, if you talk about it.
No, not. I don't know about. I haven't read about that, but I'm, from my background, I know that reincarnation is the only way that I can make sense of life on this planet or anywhere else, as seeing life as a continuous expression of consciousness.
Yeah.
And in order for consciousness to express itself at ever more perfect levels or reflections of its perfection, we come into incarnation time and time again. And if you look at existence from atoms to galaxies, you can see that it's a progression of stages of consciousness. And man, the human race, is just one stage in that progression, in that evolution of consciousness. And it's certainly not the final stage of consciousness, but it's the first stage with self-consciousness, which so far has made us think that we are the crown of creation. But there is more and more. There's a lot of evidence, especially in the Ageless Wisdom teachings, that there are kingdoms in nature above the human kingdom, the spiritual kingdom, which is populated by the masters of wisdom who have come out of the human race through this whole process of incarnation after incarnation, giving more and more perfect expression to the consciousness that each incarnation expresses. And so incarnation and reincarnation for me is part and parcel of life. I can't see life making sense without that basic fundamental law of reincarnation, which is, by the way, combined or paired with the law of cause and effect or the law of karma, because that makes sure that any causes that we set into motion will have effects through which process we learn. It's not a matter of getting punished, but it's a matter of becoming aware that our actions, our thoughts, our words have effects, whether immediately or later on or in a future life. And gradually we learn from that, and we become, from our present point of view, perfected human beings, by which time we will be entering the spiritual kingdom of nature. And so the progression continues through planets, levels of solar systems and galaxies, etc., etc. So reincarnation as a concept is very much part of my background.
Well, I want to let people know you're listening to the Jamie Havican Show, and our guest is Gerard Aartsen, and we are talking about his new book, the latest book he has written, his second book, Here to Help, UFOs and the Space Brothers. And on that, I just wanted to let people know so they can research this. I recently watched a documentary on this little Scottish boy who remembers his past life so well. And it's not. He says he grew up on this very, very remote Scottish island he would have no idea about. But there's that story. And then there's a local story of a kid here just north of me in Tampa, and them two stories really fascinating. And then talking about afterlife, there was a story published just this last December 28th. Quantum physicists just prove the existence of afterlife? And apparently this scientist, Robert Lanza, it's a very interesting article. And he is saying that death is part of your subconscious. It's something that everybody would have to check out. Just the title of that article is, Did Quantum Physicists Just Prove the Existence of an Afterlife? So I'm sure if you Google that, you can find it. But yeah, that is very fascinating. And this is Desmond Leslie. Is that how you pronounce his name? The co-author. Now, what was his role in George Adamski? I know he was the co-author of the book. Was he an experiencer? Did he experience any of this? What role did he play in all this back then?
He was. First of all, he was very much interested in the stories of the early contactees, and he did extensive research. And his part of the book, Flying Saucers Have Landed, that he co-authored with Adamski, published in 1953, if I'm not mistaken, was a historical overview of the UFO phenomenon. And he already made the connections that I've elaborated on in my books with the wisdom teachings, especially with the books by Helena Blavatsky and Alice Bailey. So that was his part, and it was the main part of that book, Flying Saucers Have Landed. And when when his book was about to come out, he and his publisher were contacted or heard about Adamski's story, whose contact happened in November 1952. So he contacted Adamski asking for permission to use Adamski's photographs in his book. And Adamski, without hesitation, sent a whole batch of photographs for them to use without asking for money for it or anything. And Leslie thought that was so remarkable, and he and his publisher in the UK started talking, and they decided, well, if we use his photographs, then if Adamski, who asked Leslie for help to find a publisher, when Adamski would finally find a publisher, his book wouldn't sell because the photographs were published in Leslie's book already. So they decided to incorporate Adamski's report about his meeting with the man from Venus in 1952, to incorporate that part in the book. And so the Flying Saucers Have Landed book came together. And Desmond Leslie has supported Adamski and his claims throughout his life until he died, I believe, in 2001 or something.
All right. Well, that explains that. And, it's fascinating how little things like that, just little things put everything together. I believe it's fate, little things like that put him where he is now in history. I want to let people know, Benjamin Creme and Share International has been mentioned a couple times tonight. If you search my name in Benjamin Creme, you can find an interview I did with him probably 3 years ago. Very, very good interview. I got to tell you, I was so surprised of how many people showed up, downloaded the show. This thing was just insane. It was really one of the first big shows I had ever really done as far as traffic and downloads and live listeners. It was insane. One question that I want to get across is Adamski's thoughts on the Lunar 3 Soviet 1959 photos of the dark side of the moon. What did he have to say about that? Did he have theories about bases there, or was he told they were there? What does the link to Adamski and those photos have in common?
I'm not sure what he said about the photographs, but I know for a fact that he had more than a theory, because from what I understand, he was taken to fly around the moon in a saucer or in a mothership. Mm-hmm. And he reports seeing growth, vegetation there. He reports seeing bases there and activity, just as some of the astronauts have later confirmed having seen extraterrestrial spacecraft on the edge of craters on the moon, etc. So he was completely informed about the reality and existence of the extraterrestrial presence also on the moon. And they're just bases there. Of course, people live in bases as well, but they're not a lunar population. They are people from other planets who have their bases there, just as they have their bases on this planet, where they work with the elder brothers of humanity, the masters of wisdom, who have come out of humanity through that process of evolution that we just discussed, and they're here to help these elder brothers to guide and inspire humanity to make the correct choices in this difficult time of transition. I mean, we've seen some years of mass protests that are, in fact, are still going on in various countries around the world, and they seem to flare up here and then calm down and flares up somewhere else. And this is going to continue until the whole of humanity, or the majority of humanity, realizes the need for change, and the pressure will become so strong from the people that governments will have no choice but to change. And we will also, of course, see, as Benjamin Creme says in his lectures and his interviews, the reality of the existence of the Masters of Wisdom and their head, the world teacher, who will guide and inspire humanity to make the right choices and the right decisions. And then, of course, when these are known, when they are known openly, the Masters and the world teacher, the reality of the space people will become known, and they will show more of themselves.
Now, in the beginning of the interview, you had mentioned that Adamski had this hoax played on him, and I found the name James Mosley. Is that the guy?
Yes, that's him. That's him
who did that. So, just to let people know, you received a letter from an R.E. Straith.
Correct.
And,
yes.
That's all on Adamski's Wikipedia. Now you got to remember, you can't take everything on Wikipedia as fact, but a lot of it depends. Anybody basically can write it. As the late Lloyd Pye had many arguments with Wikipedia, and I applaud him for his tenacity at making sure facts were straight on that. Let's see here, some other questions. What's this, Orphan? The pilot? There's a lot of people out there, a lot of skeptics who look at this kind of stuff, and they think of people with tinfoil hats and antennas and stuff like that. And they'll look at something like, oh yeah, sure, he didn't want to be photographed or let himself be photographed. Yeah, in your book you show pictures of other pilots that are photographed. Do you know about this? Let me see if I can actually find it.
Yes, they are photographs from the same people that I mentioned from the Italian friendship case. And this was a pilot who allowed himself to be photographed by people in Italy. Again, it was published in Alberto Perego's book, one of his books. And it's quite remarkable, because you can see that the extraterrestrials look very much like us, and the photographs corroborate the descriptions from many contactees that humanity is a universal occurrence. They appear around around the universe, everywhere. It's you cannot have life express itself without going through the human phase, the human stage. So that's why it's universal.
Now I'm gonna spell out Alberto's name for the listeners so they can do some research on him if they want to. It's Alberto, Alberto. His last name is Perego. So if you want to look into that farther, you can. The best way to do that would be to get the book, because it's all in there, all the photos. And did you say there was a colored photo book, or just a book with all the photos, the second edition that was released in 2012 November?
No, you should have the second edition, I think, which has some of the photographs in color. Not the old photographs from the 50s are not in color, but the ones that I have in color are in color, printed in color in this second edition.
Yep, I do.
And that includes the beautiful photographs from, where was it, Peru or somewhere in South America, of a rather translucent spaceship.
Now, was that spaceship orange and yellowish?
Page 94. Yeah. Sorry, what that spaceship was? Yeah, it was Peru, and it was photographed in 1989.
Okay.
It shows, very beautiful photographs.
Yeah, this is amazing stuff that you're just not going to come across. You're researching online. I can tell that you put a lot of work into this and making sure that all the references and sources were there. A lot of these photos, I don't know, going off of Wikipedia, but they show Adamski's photo, which is said to be of a UFO taken on December 13th, 1952. It says, though, however, German scientist Walter Johannes Redl says the photo was a fake and that the landing struts were light bulbs. That's what you talked about earlier, I believe. Yeah. But
Yeah, I dealt with that in my first book.
Yeah.
Because there was not just a German scientist. There were so many people who claimed that it was a fake and that they had found the original, whatever it was, a lampshade or a chicken brooder or the top of an ice cream machine, and none of them seemed to be able to agree with each other.
No,
they all had different originals, and none of which was looked like the photograph, the thing in the photograph. And besides, the photographic experts of Adamski's day all agreed, or many of them, from the top photographer for a famous movie maker to experts from the Rank Corporation, they agree that either it must have been a very expensive full-scale model that he built, for which Adamski didn't have the means, or it was real, authentic. So, yeah. I mean, if people would just use their senses, their common sense, and look at all the evidence that's available, I think the conclusion is inevitable.
Well, yeah, that and there's so many fakes out there. It's sad that nowadays you cannot trust photos or videos the way that technology is nowadays. But like you said, back then, there was no ability, there was no Photoshop, there was nothing like that.
Exactly.
to hoax this. So
you had to build models or use lampshades, which apparently Adamski didn't, because the people who claimed that his photographs were hoaxes could not agree on what the original model would have been.
Now, you're one of the last chapters in the book is on disclosure. Now, many different people have different ideas about what disclosure is. Bassett talks about disclosure with the big D. Some people think disclosure's underway, with people like Paul Hellyer coming out, and just all the different things that are coming out little by little. The internet helped immensely in this field with bringing it more towards mainstream, getting it out there. But it seems that every time it's in mainstream, they still have to do that little giggle factor. But what do you think disclosure would have to be? Would it have to be? I always think of the balloon boy. I remember watching that live. The little boy, they said his boy took off in this balloon they made out in, I forget what state it was here, and a helicopter was following it live. And I've said something like it would take a helicopter following a UFO almost like that for people to wake up and believe that these things are real. But what do you think about disclosure? Do you think that it's started? Do you think it'll ever fully happen?
Yes, I'm sure it will. On the one hand, I agree with people who say that disclosure is underway, in the sense that if you see more and more officials and dignitaries, including former U.S. military officials from nuclear bases like Robert Salas, coming forward with their experiences. These are people who are highly trained to distinguish between an airplane and a helicopter and a hot air balloon and whatnot, a swamp gas. But also former government officials like Paul Hellyer. There's scientists like the Hungarian Ervin Laszlo, who has said on the record that he has been told of the ET presence and has seen evidence, apparently. Just the most recently, the Prime Minister of Russia, Medvedev, who made some comments after a show, but still on camera, about just talking as a matter of factly about the extraterrestrial presence. So in that respect, I believe disclosure is happening gradually, because the cover is no longer big enough to cover up the truth. On the other hand, I think that through disclosure, the final definitive answer to people's questions or to people's disbelief will come after the day of declaration, the day when the world teacher, Maitreya, his personal name, the head of the spiritual hierarchy of Masters of Wisdom, whose emergence Benjamin Graham has been talking about for nearly 40 years now. Mm-hmm. When that has taken place very soon now, because everything in the world is working towards that event, the full and open emergence of this group of perfected men from our point of view, as proof of the ongoing evolution of consciousness, and of, again, as the spiritual kingdom in nature, from which inspiration and guidance has always been forthcoming in the past through teachings that have evolved into religions, but now that the masters and the world teacher himself will be in the world directly, open, known, we won't have a need for a new religion, and the world teacher has said that he's not come to create a new religion or to create followers, but to teach mankind the art of self-realization. With that happening, with that event, the day of declaration, according to Benjamin Graham, very soon now, that will lead to a more open visibility and interaction of the space people with Earth humanity, and that will be, the time when governments will be no longer able to discount or deny the reality of the ET presence. Of course, they can try to continue to cover up the information that they have had ever since the late 1940s. But the reality will be there for everyone to see. So we don't need governments to open their archives and their files anymore, because they'll be, they'll be visible. Maybe not constantly, but and maybe it will also be a gradual development, but it will be undeniable.
And people out there should take a look at the Maitreya made an appearance in Kenya, which is a fascinating story. I'm not sure what year that was, but
that was 1988.
1988, Maitreya appears in Kenya. If you Google that and read that story, it is an amazing story. I remember when I first read it back when I interviewed Benjamin Creme. I still know the story detail for detail. It's just such an amazing story, and it has pictures to go along with it, and it's just incredible. So, to learn about the Maitreya and all that, if you do not know about it, I highly recommend that you delve into that. Is there a good book you could recommend for people to read about Benjamin Creme's work with Maitreya?
Well, he's the author by now of, I believe, 16 books.
Yeah.
His most recent one is called Unity in Diversity. But the first book is still, The Reappearance of the Christ in the Masters of Wisdom, is still very much recommendable. Another very, very good book with a very complete overview of all the different aspects to this story is The Great Approach, also by Benjamin Creme. I think it was published in 2001. So yes, and people can go on Amazon and search for Benjamin Creme's books and make their own selection. But they're all fascinating. And well, I just mentioned the title of the first book, The Reappearance of the Christ, and that shouldn't alarm people, because the Christ is, maybe I can just explain that the Christ is the term used for the office in the spiritual hierarchy of the world teacher. And the world teacher is expected literally by every major religion in the world as further revelation, divine revelation. In every major religion, the Christians are waiting for the return of the Christ, and the Jews are waiting for the Messiah, and the Muslims are waiting for the 12th Mahdi, the Imam Mahdi, the Hindus are waiting for the 10th incarnation of Vishnu, and the Buddhists are waiting for the 5th Buddha, Maitreya Buddha. They had the name right. So it's a universal expectation, regardless of the different religions trying to claim and monopolize further revelation. But it's universal, just as the law of harmlessness. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, which I have as the appendix in my book, is a universal law and is universally recognized in every single religion.
Yeah, it's amazing how all the religions, a lot of the origin stories, a lot of the beliefs are fairly identical, but yet they differentiate themselves. There are differences, but it's so strange how they don't see how in common they are. But then again, there are a lot of differences. Even within Christianity, there's a lot of differences. And
exactly, all the different Christian sects are actually a good reflection of the diversity in humanity and the different needs among humanity for certain certain expressions of the truth, and the differences in the religions. If you really study it and research it, you'll find is mainly to do with the fact that the different religions came out of different parts of the world, different cultures, in different times, and so they cater to different needs. But of course, as soon as imperfect people like ourselves come into the picture, we try to corner it. We try to understand it ourselves in the first place, and some of us will try to misuse it to hold power over other people. So dogma comes in, etc., etc. But none of all that has anything to do with the original teachings. And if you look at the original teachings, there's more similarities than differences.
We're gonna start wrapping this thing up. This is, we could definitely go on forever. I would like to, for sure, after I read this book, and I'm going to do a lot more research on this topic, and delve into the book, and then branch off into the sources in each chapter and kind of get into it, because I find it really fascinating. But the book is available on Amazon, and it is Here to Help UFOs and the Space Brothers, and it's by Gerard Aartsen, and that's Aartsen, and it's also available in Barnes & Noble. And what is your main website? I did a search on your main website, and it shows the Exopolitics website. Do you have a main website? Is it...
Yeah, my website as an author is bgapublications.nl.
Okay.
And I keep track there of my publications, the interviews and talks that I give, etc., and the latest translations of my books.
Is there any conferences, any lectures you're going to be appearing at coming up, or any big shows you're going to be on, any nationally syndicated shows, anything people can look forward to?
Nothing finalized as of yet. I did receive some tentative invitations, mostly in Europe, for this year. One invitation I had to turn down, unfortunately, in Germany. But so whenever something is finalized, I will publish it on my website, so people can keep track of me there.
Yeah, and that's bgapublications.nl, and I'll put all the information, everything we've talked about, in the archive post from that. Now, you have everything on the website as far as every update you do and all that. So
exactly,
people don't need to find a Twitter or Facebook. Although, do you have a Facebook fan page, or do you just have your personal?
There's a fan page, or a group page, as it's called nowadays, for my first book, George Adamski, A Herald for the Space Brothers, and I've created another page which actually developed or evolved into my second book, and that other page is called There is Nothing Alien About the Visitors from Space.
Alrighty, well,
there is nothing alien about the visitors from space.
I am going to like them, and it's been a pleasure having you on, and we'll definitely have to get you back, and because from this show I am going to get probably quite a few emails and questions, and I always love doing live shows where they can interact live in the chat room. And since I've kind of just reinvented everything in 2014, 2013 was just a bad year health-wise, and a lot of things kind of came apart in radio with that. But I'm starting over, and things are looking good. I'm really aligning myself with good people, and hopefully once things are fully back to where they were, we can bring you back on and do a full interactive show and have live listeners and asking questions. And we look forward to future books and articles. And also check out YouTube. There are lectures on there. There's a lot of information. And also I recommend shareinternational.org, correct?
Correct, yes.
You can go there for as much information as you can handle, basically. Anything else you want to say before we end it? Anything? Any last closing words or topics?
I think we covered the basics, and of course, there's so much more detail, so many more details in my book. It's impossible to cover everything.
Yep.
And I'll be more than happy to come back on your show whenever you have room for me.
Yeah.
And I'll be very grateful to answer any more questions you may have for your listeners.
Alrighty. Probably, I don't know if 3 months from now, something like that would work out great, because I would have time to really get into this and also have a lot of questions from this show be sent in, because I'm always getting questions from past shows that are replayed, and we could bring you back on always. And
sure.
Are you working on a new book? That's something I have not asked you.
Yes, I am working on something new, and it involves me going back into mostly the publications of the early contactees, the first books by Buck Nelson, Truman Bethroom, Orfeo Angelucci, and Adamski, and all the others, looking for hints or descriptions that they received from their space contacts about organizing life in a different way, different ways of organizing society, and making links to, for instance, the Occupy movement, the protest movements that are growing around the world, and the need for sharing and justice. That's something I've done some research already. There's no way I can predict when it will be ready, but that's something I'm working on at the moment.
All right, definitely. Keep me up to date with that. Of course, I'll be in touch, and we'll do as much as we can to get the word out there. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, and everybody check out the website of Gerard, and that is bgapublications.nl. And check out Facebook and the videos and everything else. And we will be having him back in a few months. And make sure you check out his first book as well, George Adamski. What was that? Herald for the Space Brothers?
Herald for the Space Brothers.
Indeed. All right. Well, thanks for your time, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It was a pleasure.
All right. We'll be right back after this short break, and I will do my wrap-up. So hold tight. We will be right back. You are locked in to Jamie Havican Broadcasting, bringing you informative truth 24/7. Please visit the website jamiehavican.com or jamiehavicanbroadcasting.net to check our schedule, show times, consulting information, and much, much more. That's jamiehavican.com or jamiehavicanbroadcasting.net. That's HAVICAN. Thank you for listening. Please help spread the word. And while you're on the website, please check our social bookmarks and like them and subscribe. Thank you for listening, and take care. Hey guys, Jamie Havican here. Make sure you tune in to my show every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time as I bring you the best guest and informative information from around the world on many topics. Anything that is interesting or needs to be heard, you will hear. My first show back of 2014 is the 12th of January, as we've taken a short break to rebuild the studio and the website. That guest is Gerard Aartsen. We will be talking about his book, Here to Help, UFOs, and the Space Brothers. So tune in to the Jamie Havican Show every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, jamiehavican.com or jamiehavicanbroadcasting.net. I'll see you there. Hey guys, Jamie Havican here, just to let you know that for 2014 we have gone all in. We installed a full new studio here, and we are building a whole new site, and it is exciting. We now sound better than we ever have, and the studio has more processing room and equipment to deal with any situation. We are currently looking for shows, ideas, and guests, and the website is undergoing a remake from the ground up, starting from nothing. So, 2014 is going to be the rebound year. I'm putting everything in it, and cross my fingers and knock on wood, this will be the year we get things back together. Let's put that behind us and move on, and remember, don't feed the trolls. Take care.
This intro should be more dramatic. Oh, man. It's LL season. Let's ride. Hands up. Hands up. Hands up.
All right, we're back from the break, and we are going to wrap it up. Now, tonight's show is the first show of 2014 here on the Jamie Havican Show, and I just want to mention a few things before I end the show. I am leaving everything before 2014 basically behind me. 2013 was a very, very bad year, one of the worst years I've ever had. Just in far of luck, major surgeries, all the radio stuff that went on, what happened with the network that I founded and worked so hard at for years, I lost. And, the other stuff that happened towards the end of the year. My policy is I'm not going to talk about it, I'm not going to feed it, I'm going to move on. And I suggest that's what everybody in the situation does. Unless I'm attacked in, a way that's out in public and I have to defend myself verbally, because that's the only way you can on the internet. I will do that, but there's just so much drama in this field and in radio, and people are so competitive, and I take things a little bit personal when I get a low blow, and I got quite a few of them in 2013 that truthfully and honestly were not deserved. I've never maliciously done anything to anybody. I have no idea what certain people think in their heads, and for some reason I just always trust people, especially people who you think you know so well. But like I said, leaving it behind me, and I'm moving on, and to the extent that before 2013 ended, I did not even save one thing. I deleted all my websites, okay? Just deleted them. I didn't back them up. I didn't do nothing. Just went straight to my file manager, got rid of every single file, and I went out and dropped some money on all new studio gear, which it's not finely tuned yet. This mixer I have is so complex that I have had it configured 6 different ways, and I was about to sell it because I was about to give up, but I found a way that is working, and that's what I'm using right now, and hopefully it turns out pretty good. There is one more thing that I still have yet to hook up, and that is my vocal compressor, and that'll be hooked up very shortly, a few days. And what that does is it keeps a consistent level coming out of my microphone. So say I'm talking like I am now and I move back a foot, or just your tone will drop up or down depending on what you're reading or talking about. It keeps that level at a steady pace, and also it'll make you sound a lot better. So but right now I'm running a 2 computer setup, a 3 monitor setup, 2 mixers. I got an EQ rack, and the compressor rack I still have to get shipped in. It's ordered, and got a new microphone. I got 3 mics hooked up, and I'm working on one of my real friends gave me a great idea. We were talking about, all this stuff in the studio. He says, you know what? I had my webcam on. He's like, why don't you just take the doors off of that closet? Because, I was showing him the cabinets and all the shelves and everything in my room. And I said, that cabinet's totally empty. That cabinet's totally empty. That closet is totally empty. He said, why don't you take the doors off that closet, put some sound padding in there, and move your stuff in there. And I mean, this thing is perfect sized for a computer desk, sound padding. And then he said, put your neon lights up behind you. It's just going to be perfect. So what I have to do is just paint the inside of the closet a gloss black, and I'm going to set everything up in there, and it is going to look like a lot better than it does now. Because I right now, I'm living in a room that should be about 4 times bigger than it is for everything I have in it. I've lived in this house for 6 years now, and it's just, it's overdue. So once that's done, which is going to be very shortly, we'll be rocking. We might even get video going. Now, I have the new website up, if you can't tell, and you can go there. Now, I built it on JamieHavicanBroadcasting.net. JamieHavicanBroadcasting.net. Everything on the site I've done, and I can say this, 100, not 99.9, 100% by myself. Every graphic, every single thing on the site. And I've only got about 8 hours into it. So I'm still working on it. And if you go to the site, I want to go there right now and just kind of walk you through. The only thing that's a little bit weird about the website itself is the main menu. And that's why I have it in a sidebar. But I'm going to do a how-to video, and it's just going to be a screen share video on how to navigate the website. Now, above the header, right above the header, you'll see big tabs. Those are actually like categories, featured posts. Those are not, that's not the menu. Those are posts, post categories. Above that, there is smaller text. It says about Jamie and his services in past, radio-listen live. When you hover on that, you'll see an archives tab and upcoming shows tab pop up under it. You got your registration page, your contact us, radio affiliates and products. Now that is where I am incorporating my radio consultation into this site. In the past, I've helped about 30, 40 people set up their own home studio and show them how to broadcast and what they need. And I'm still doing that with how-to videos, Skype screen sharing, all that kind of stuff. Then there is a Other Sites tab. You click on that and you'll see some other sites, some logos. There's a drop-down menu, and you'll see KGRA DB Radio. That links you straight over to KGRA, which is our partner site. TalkStream Live, and then Scepter Radio Network. And if you want your website on the Other Sites page, just send me an email with your banner and About Us information, and I'll put it up there in exchange for my banner on your site. Now, under the Other Sites tab, like you click on Other Sites, you will see, you'll see a drop down that says Grab Our Banners. And I'm going to make a logo square banner and then a banner. So you can place on your site. It'll have the HTML code or the picture so that you can choose which one you want to use. Remember, you can like our Facebook. Now, right on the website, if you look at the slider to the right of it, there's a little Facebook tab. Not that little. And if you go to hover on it with your mouse, it opens up. Boom! And it says Jamie Havican Broadcasting. And you can just hit like, and it likes it. At the bottom of the website, you'll see the other social media. You'll see Twitter, Facebook, the RSS feed for our podcast site. You'll see an email Jamie. Then you'll see an email the network. Then you'll see the GT6 podcast logo, which takes you to that site. And you'll also see some sites that carry our stream. You'll see our Twitter widget, which shows the tweets. And on the sidebar here, of course, there is the donation tab. You know, I'm always shy about talking about it. A lot of people aren't in the radio world. I still have not received one donation in 3 years. So be the first to break that streak. That's the first thing that's there. And then it says, listen to the website audio, welcome. And then there's a little logo. It says, click to listen to website, welcome. And you click on that logo, and it brings you right to the Listen Live chat page with the chat room and the player. Of course, the player's on every sidebar. Player, you click on it, and it opens up a pop-out. And then up top, you can get to the chat room by the radio-listen page. Also, a cool plug-in, Skype status. You can call me right from the website. You hit call me, chat with me, add me to Skype, leave me a voicemail, view my profile, or send me a file. So you can do all that right from the site. Then there's a site pages, and you can see the pages on the sidebar in case you miss them up top. There's recent posts, then there's the login, logout, and archives. So, like I said, I'm going to make a full how-to video, and I will post that up. We are looking for shows, and I need to re-oil my chair. I oiled it about 3 weeks ago, and it stopped squeaking 100%. It's getting old. I need to replace it. But we are looking for shows. So if you know somebody who has a show and is looking for a different platform, let me know. Tonight's show, you may have heard a little bit of static a little bit when he would talk. There's nothing I can do about, there's only so much I can do about a guest or a caller's audio. It's only so much. And it seemed like every time he talked a little bit, you'd hear just a little bit of crackle, just for a second. But besides that, everything was fine. And I gotta tell you, I have this thing set up so easy and simple. I've come up with my own ingenious way of hooking it up with two audio interfaces for one in and one out, and it works fairly well so far. And the way it's configured, I don't see how it could, knock on wood, go bad. There's always the analog way. I can go back to analog, the old wired way, with regular wires, but right now we're hooked up digitally. So if you know anybody who has a show, recommend them to join here. I want to have about 5 or 6 shows, and I want them to be quality shows that I can really put effort into. And I mean effort. I mean promote the hell out of them. Do amazing posts, new banners for each show, posts that have a ton of information, plug them places, edit them correctly, professionally, post them. By the way, I have the all-new broadcaster, Sam Broadcaster 2013. I was still running 4.9.8. Also, if you know somebody who had a show and it's been in retirement, or they do YouTube videos, any person you think would make a good show, run it by them, recommend it to them, and see what comes of it. Also, I am looking for a news person. I'm going to contact the last 2 people, let them know that everything's back up and running. You know, we had the whatever cafe going thing, and you know, that basically went down the toilet. And they were doing the news great for me there, but I basically, once, you know, I got the call, I told them, look, right now I just gotta think. And I don't care how many times I'm gonna get knocked down, I'm gonna get up. That is going to be the final time I talk about that, because I'm leaving that back in 2013. That's when it happened. That's where it's staying. The archives on this site are going to start with this show, and I'm also going to have past shows. So all my past shows I'm going to put together in an HTML scroller and put them up so you can download and listen to them. I don't have 60% of my Inception radio shows, so anybody out there who is maybe a person at IRN that has access to those files, wink wink, you know, at least give me my files. Come on. My computer got wiped out, you know, right before this happened. I don't know what the hell happened, but my computer just foobarred and just would not recover. And I had to have it fully rewashed, restored, new disk, new hardware, new everything. And I lost everything. I could have retained everything, but it would have cost so much money. It already cost enough to fix it. In this tower, I paid a lot of money. I saved a long time for it, so I need to get some years out of it. Right now, it's only been just over a year. So, all right, now the email to contact me. If you know somebody who has a show, you want to do the news. Now, this is what I'm looking for the news. Somebody to do it 3 days a week, and you would do it, say, Tuesday, or no, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But you would record it Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Send it to me so I have it ready for the next day. It would air 3 times a day, and my PAL script automatically start right up. And it's a good way for you to practice, to get your voice out there, and then I'm looking for somebody to do it 2 days a week. I only want the news to go weekdays. Or if somebody out there has the tenacity to do all 5 days, it's only a half an hour of news a day. Me, I'm just too busy to do all this. There's a lot of stuff I do in the background that people don't see, like developing apps for other people, consulting like crazy with other people, and on top of that, taking care of family, taking care of myself, everything that goes along with life. So the email is, now there's a couple of them, but the one I recommend, which is easiest to remember, would be Jamie M, as in Magoo, I don't know. M as in more. Jamie M Havican. M is my middle initial. Jamie M Havican at gmail.com. Jamie M Havican at gmail.com. In case you don't know how my last name is spelled, it is Havican. Now the V is as in Victor. V. Hivican. If all else fails, come to the website and click on the Contact Us tab and you're in business. Also, if you have a story, an experience, a sighting you would like to report, you can call and leave a voicemail anytime. If I pick up, we'll record it. That number is 941-548-4291. It's the same number that is in the chat room. In the chat itself, in the bottom, you'll see the number. The chat looks pretty impressive, I have to say. And I'm getting better at Photoshop. All these images I've done myself. They're not, graphic artist quality. But for me, they're pretty good. And I'm getting there. I'm learning. Some of them are actually hand traced. Like you'll see services and any type of strange graffiti looking font. That is all hand traced with a mouse. Yeah. So, also looking for guests. So if you have any guests to recommend, like I have no trouble getting guests. I can reach out and book it up. And I think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to try to stay a month or two ahead in booking and not try to, book a guest every week last minute. So if you know anybody or you yourself has a book, a story, can fill 10 minutes or an hour, let me know via the same way through the email jamiemhavican@gmail.com. And one last thing, register for the website. All you do is come to the website and either go to the top of it, you'll see a page, a little tab that says registration page. Go there, sign up, you're in business. Or on the sidebar, come down right below recent posts, you'll see login to JHB. And you should see login and then hit login and you'll see register. Now, JHB, of course, is Jamie Havican Broadcasting. So, thank you all for listening to my first show back for 2014. Sorry if I've continued on a little bit more, but a lot to say, a lot to clear up, and I can't say enough about this book. Here to help UFOs and their space brothers. And the Space Brothers. It's a really good book. I'm about halfway through. And like I said, once I've read it and I've delved into all of it, I am going to basically do it like I used to do. For each show, I used to sit down with a notepad and just write out questions. And I would have 60, 70 questions ready. So there's none of this, while I'm thinking stuff. I hate that. So we're going to do it the way we used to do. We're going to go back to the roots, start like I did when I first started. And I'm telling you, I had numbers like crazy before anybody came along as far as partners to help me. I have proof of that via Paranexus numbers when I was using their server. So, if you need any kind of services, like a website set up nice and easy, very cheap too, you can get a GoDaddy account for $4.99 a month. That's all you need. Basically right there, I go in and I install the WordPress app. I set up the theme and show you how to use it, which is simple. If you can use, a basic blog or anything, if you could follow directions, you can use WordPress, and just as good as I can. It's just the setup process a little bit hard, not too hard. Some people are gonna laugh thinking it's hard because some people are just computer gurus. Me, I've only been online since 2008, and I'm all self-taught. So, all right, take care, guys. Thank you for listening to the Jamie Havican Show for January 12th, 2014. My birthday is coming up. That's right, February 4th. And I'll give you a hint of how old I will be. It's going to tell you how old I am. Whatever year it is how old I am. I'm in my 30s. It's 2014. I'll be turning 34. Time flies by. So if you're out there and you are under 20 and you are hearing this, the next 10 years of your life, put as much effort in as you can, because it's going to determine the rest of your life. I am Jamie Havican. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week. Our new show time is Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Take care. And remember, I'm the originator of this slogan. Keep your eye in the sky. I'm out.
The sky's gonna break and everything will escape, and I'll know. One of these days the mountains are gonna fall into the sea, and they'll know that you and I were made for this. I was made to taste your kiss.